Hello! In today's video, I am going to be talking about atheism from the perspective of a pagan, and I may title the video differently depending on whatever it may be, however I may rate the video. But regardless, what is my view on it? Before I say anything, when I say paganism, I mean people who can have a spiritual belief, but not necessarily be religious or be similar to atheists and probably not believing in like particular gods or anything like that. But, I can relate to atheists in some way that not everybody's going to be the same, not everybody can agree. But what do I mean by atheist? Atheist, in my definition, is somebody who has a lack of belief in God or gods. That's it. Alright? It's just somebody who has a lack of belief in God and or gods. So in that definition, basically, yes, you could be a religious atheist, or hell, you could be an atheist that doesn't even believe in evolution. They exist, okay? Atheists have always kind of existed throughout history. In fact, some people believe that the first pagan societies, because that's what people believed that the first religions were, they were probably some variant of paganism, or what we now call paganism anyway. A lot of them were probably atheistic or had atheistic beliefs. Like a lack of God or gods. There are religions like that. And that's just how it is. Like, for example, I don't know if this necessarily applies to this religion, if I can really call it that, because I don't know if they believe that they're religious, but Buddhism, from what I could tell, from what I know, yeah, they don't really believe in any God or gods. But yet, I think they're a religion to an extent, that kind of thing. They have a big spirituality and stuff like that. But I just mean, like, would a Buddhist consider himself religious in that regard, Or her. Anyway, I can tell you something. Just like there is a spectrum of paganism, like there are people who are religiously pagan, or any other religion, like there's a spectrum of religion. There's a spectrum of paganism. There are people who are culturally pagans. There are people who are just spiritually pagan. There are some people who are politically pagan, And then there are some people who are mixed, kind of like me. I'm a pagan, but I'm mostly a religious pagan. Things like that. Not like religious, but more of like a spiritual pagan. Things like that. I'm not really a cultural pagan, and obviously I'm not exactly a political pagan. I'm just more of like, I believe in gods to an extent, like to the extent of how I believe it, obviously. For me, they're imperfect beings that have powers, and the evidence of their life or the evidence of them being a god isn't really proven to me until either they have true evidence of this, or whenever they die, their death is divine, in the sense of it's revealed that they're a god, But I believe in multiple gods and multiple spirits and things like that. But a lot of those spirits are spirits of nature, okay? Because only humans can really go to Valhalla. But I'm not really worried about the death part. The death part, it's just a part of the life cycle. And because it's a part of the life cycle, I don't believe in reincarnation, if you're wondering. But because it's a part of the life cycle, worrying about what happens to you in the spirit realm, as you could say, is something you should only worry about once you get there. Once you're dead. Permanently. Once you're dead permanently, then you will find out the answer to that. But until then, you're just going to have to live life for the way you have it right now. Okay? You can get better, you can get worse. Whatever the case, you have to live in the current moment. You have to live life like you can die, but you might not. Like it's that kind of thing. You could die, or you could not die, but you don't know. You don't know how long you could live. You could die tomorrow. You could die in 100 years from now. I don't know. But what I can tell you is atheism has a spectrum as well. Atheism has a spectrum of, non-religious mostly and religious. Now, modern atheism, not the ancient form of atheism, but modern atheism is, total denial of all religion, on the most extreme end. Total denial of all religion, doesn't believe in any god or gods or spirits or anything like that. Doesn't really have any, lucky anything, doesn't really have any particular belief other than, I believe in stuff like evolution, such things as nothing happens when you die, as in the sense you're not going to go to heaven or hell, you're not going to go to Valhalla, whatever. But if that works out for you, that works out for you. Which I'm slowly starting to understand from somebody who is a pagan, because people, when they see somebody has a different view of them, especially when they come from a religion that has a strict set of rules, or sometimes a non-religious belief, they'll have prejudices, and those prejudices cause problems. And if you know anything about that, yeah, atheism can do bad things. Obviously, we already know that. We already know that can happen, but generally speaking, when atheists attack religious people, it's either one of two things. Either they believed in that religion before and it turned them all crazy, or two, they just had a really big hatred for religion, and that whatever they attacked just so happened to be the target, that kind of thing. But I'm not saying all atheists are like this, okay? Most atheists are just normal people that 1,000 years ago, they probably couldn't express their beliefs at all, because people tend to forget that there could have been genuine, big-time societies that didn't believe in any god or gods, didn't believe in any spirits or anything like that. They might have just believed in weather, nature, and humans, that kind of thing. That was it. There wasn't any divine energy or anything like that for them, or any, supernatural belief. But who knows? Maybe me, being a pagan and all, maybe the first pagans, who know, maybe they started to believe in spirits and stuff because of death, or they started to believe in the divine because they couldn't explain something. I don't know. And for whatever reason, eventually, they started developing gods, But it did raise societies and stuff like that. But the problem is it does create bias when people still have non-belief. And so for thousands of years, if you were somebody who had atheistic beliefs up until evolution got popularized, up until then, most people, if you, I don't know if calling yourself an atheist was still like a thing, say 200 years ago. But if you did have beliefs like that, you were probably considered treasonous in some places. In fact, you still are considered treasonous in a lot of places. But in the West, at least, for the most part, now don't get me wrong, there are crazy psychos out there too. But for the most part, most people are fine with you being religious or non-religious, that kind of thing. It's just, there are more, at least from what I can tell, more religious people than non-religious people. But they do exist. Non-religious atheists do exist. Okay? They're really, really popular. And it's not like you're born with any particular faith. But in your faith, they grow up to know the best one. If you're in any particular religion, at least in your view, your worldview. But an atheist, they're all wrong, things like that. But atheists shouldn't go around bashing pagans like me or other atheists for having different beliefs, or other people of other religions or non-religious people for having different beliefs. Same thing with people who are pagan or who are other religions. They shouldn't be bashing each other, themselves, others, or atheists. Okay? Nobody like that. Even if they're an apostate or something. I wouldn't want to, kill them because, you don't believe in the gods anymore or anything like that. I'm not here to be the villain. When somebody dies, say a relative or a friend, I'd let you grieve. Okay, you can grieve in your own way. If that so happens to lead you to paganism, great. But I'm still gonna let you grieve. Okay, I'm not gonna force my beliefs on you as your way of grieving. Okay? I'm not like those people that are like, let's use my religion as a way to make you cope. As a way of belief. I would say only go to my belief system if it comforts you in your coping. If it comforts you in your way of grieving. Okay? But only after you get a chance to react to your relative or friend's death. And or friend's death. Depending on who you ask. But regardless, I'm not going to try and go convert you because you're grieving or because you're sad or because you have this or that mental illness. Okay? If you want to find that belief, fine. But all I'm saying is you should figure out, at least if you're still grieving, or if you're still coping for the rest of your life because of somebody's death, so be it. But as long as that doesn't mean you become like an evil person or something, does discrimination or whatever, then yeah, you can do that. But I would say either get over your belief of that loved one or that friend, or if it's really, really major to you, at least use that as a way to help you get along in life, okay? Your ancestors died a lot back in the day, okay? Died way back when. But guess what? Did they stop? No, they didn't stop, alright? Just because somebody dies doesn't mean you can't keep living life. Alright? Now don't get me wrong, whoever died for you, you can still view as a great person, a good person. Okay? Or a person you loved and trust. I am just saying that don't let that death burden you. Okay? Let that be a reason to keep on living. Alright? But if that still didn't help, and you still die anyway because of it, you still say end your own life, well, at least you tried listening to me. At least you gave life a chance. At least you're trying to give life a chance. But what am I gonna do? It's not like I can just yell at you through the screen and completely convince you. That is up to your own soul. That is up to you. That is up to your own way of thinking. I can only convince you for so long. You have to convince yourself in your own head, physically, mentally, maybe even spiritually. Alright? And I would say to that, well, you always have somewhere to go in life, so might as well make one. Anyway, regardless of what you believe, atheist or not, yeah, I just generally make, currently as of time of recording, I generally make pagan content. Pagan-related content and stuff like that. If you're interested into it, you can keep getting into it. But if not, then oh well. You know? And if you want to make comments in the video, under the video, you can. Anyway, that's the end of the video. So, you can make your own YouTube video if you want. You can do whatever you want to this, or do nothing if you decide. But regardless, it's the end of the video, so I'm gonna wrap things up, and yeah, that's about it. And just remember, stay ugly.